Today I want to show you how to knit the garter block stitch. This is a nice simple stitch pattern that creates this really nice checkered pattern by alternating stockinette stitch with garter stitch. Even though it's a 12-row repeat, that repeat is nice and simple with a lot of repetition, so it's a great one for a beginner to try if they're looking to create something textured without jumping into some of the more complicated stitch patterns. The pattern multiple for garter block stitch is 10 plus 5. What that means is that you want to cast on a number that is a multiple of 10, and then once you've done that you're going to add 5 additional stitches on. I'm just going to cast on a small sample of this tutorial, and I'm going to use my preferred method of the long tail cast on, but you can use whichever cast on method you prefer. It will work for this stitch pattern. In this stitch pattern, the odd numbered rows form the right side of the work, and all that means is as your pattern grows, when you knit your odd numbered rows, you will have the right side of your work facing you. For row 1, nice and simply, you want to knit all of your stitches. There is no texturing to work on the odd numbered rows, so for row 1, you are just going to knit your way all the way across your row. Row 2 starts by knitting 5 stitches. Now you're going to jump into a 10 stitch repeat that you're going to repeat across your row all the way to the end of your row, and that stitch repeat goes as follows. You are going to purl 5, and then knit 5. And you're going to repeat that combination of purl 5, knit 5 all the way to the end of your row, and if you count your stitches correctly, you should end your row after the end of a knit 5. One of the aspects of garter block stitch that keeps it nice and simple is there's actually quite a lot of repetition within your pattern repeat. So rows 3 and 4 and also rows 5 and 6 are just 2 more repeats of rows 1 and 2. So rather than go through them one by one, I will leave you to go away and work rows 3 and 4 and then rows 5 and 6 in the same manner that you worked rows 1 and 2. And then I will rejoin you at the end of row 6 to show you what that first section of your repeat should look like, and also talk you through the next 6 rows. After you've finished row 6, the front of your work should look like this. You should have 3 garter ridges, not including your cast on edge, and then you should have these nice spaced out garter sections and stockinette sections. The next half of the repeat is the second 6 rows, and that builds the staggered garter stitch squares. So it's very similar to the first 6 rows, but we are just going to stagger those squares along so that we get that nice checkerboard pattern. Just like your other odd numbered rows, row 7, you are going to knit all of your stitches. Nothing else in this row, just knit your way all the way along the row and knit every single stitch. Row 8 starts by purling 5 stitches. Then you are going to jump into a 10 stitch repeat that you're going to work all the way along your row to the end of the row. And that 10 stitch repeat goes as follows. You are going to knit 5 stitches, and then purl 5 stitches. And you're going to repeat that knit 5, purl 5 combination till the end of the row, and if you count your stitches correctly, that should come after you have worked a purl 5. Rows 9 and 10 and rows 11 and 12 are repeats of rows 7 and 8. So you are going to go away and repeat rows 7 and 8 twice more to work up rows 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. I'm going to leave you to go away and do that yourself, and I will do the same, and then I will come back to talk you through ways that you can grow your project and also give you some tips about when you need to finish your project and where is the best place to cast it off. This is what your finished 12-row repeat should look like, and then to grow your project you are going to go all the way back to row 1 and repeat those 12 rows again as many times as you need to until your project is the size that you want it to be. If you want your work to be symmetrical when you cast off, then the best point to cast off is knitwise after a row 7. So once you have grown your project as big as you want it to be and you've worked your sets of 12 row repeats, you would work rows 1 to 7 once more, and then you would cast off on row 8, which should be a wrong side row. You're not going to do it in pattern, you're just going to cast off knitwise. If you need a video on how to work the knitted cast off, then I have one that I'll link up here now. Just a couple of final bits and bobs to cover before I go. I always get asked if a design is reversible, and in the case of Garter Block Stitch, no, it's not reversible. 9 times out of 10, if your pattern has stockinette stitch in it and it doesn't have reverse stockinette stitch to match the stockinette, then you're going to find that your pattern is not reversible. So if I flip my work over, you can see that the reverse side isn't ugly in any way, it just doesn't look the same as the front. And for me, that's okay. I'm not precious about having a stitch pattern that looks the same front and back, but I know that a lot of people are. For those of you that prefer to have written instructions to follow along to, as always, I have a full set of written instructions on my blog that you can use to follow along when you're watching this video, and I will link that down in the description below. Last but not least, I'll leave you with another stitch pattern that I think you might like to work, and I will see you for another video soon.